Just while we are sticking with Manchester media, the Manchester Evening News are suggesting that an approach for Kane will not be financially viable. If Grealish joins, that's to suggest that they can only realistically sign one. The aim is to have two of them, but who would be the priority?
Well, I mean, I've been told for quite a while that Pep Guardiola rates Jack Grealish almost as high as Harry Kane. So on that basis, Harry Kane's the priority, but it's very close. I don't think that there's a case of one or the other. I think City think they can get both. They'll push hard to get both, and financially they'll find a way. They'll find a way to get players out, to move players on, to do a deal for Kane. But ultimately, they'll be able to get the money in, but they value him differently to Tottenham. So if they don't value him at £160 million and value him at 120, it's not going to happen.
Who do they need most, Shaka, out of those two?
Harry Kane. Listen, I agree with Pep Guardiola in rating Jack Grealish very highly. But right now, City's bigger priority, price aside, is a goal scorer, is an out-and-out finisher, especially since the departure of Kun Aguero, who, let's be honest, because of his injuries, hasn't contributed in the way that you know he can or used to. Right now, that position is a bigger void to fill. They have players who can play similar positions to Jack Grealish. Sterling kept Grealish out of that same position for the England national team. So, without question, Harry Kane for me is a priority. And if you can only do one, again, money aside and negotiations with Daniel Levy, let's assume that those somehow get resolved. Easily, you go Harry Kane.
If they do try and get the two, though, how the heck can they afford both of them, Jules?
Well, we know that this summer, and maybe the next one as well, financial fair play, as the words that we've used on the show for many weeks now, is been loosened up. And I think that's probably an understatement, to be fair. So forget about FFP completely, at least for this summer. So if there's one transfer window where you can go a bit crazy and do it, it's this one. And I think if you're City, you go for it. And I agree with Mark, they will find a way, they will find the money to make that deal happen. You can always offload players after. The likes of, Raheem Sterling, we've talked a lot about the fact that he's a bit frustrated by the fact that they haven't started negotiations and talks about his new deal. And he's got 2 years left on his current one. Riyad Mahrez has hit 30 now. It could be on the market. Bernardo Silva could be an asset as well to let go. So there's a lot of possibilities, things that they can do. And let's not forget, they might find someone who is happy to go to Spurs in a swap with Kane and money. So there's where they can do it. I really think they're going to push for it now. And I do also believe that if Kane has taken this decision, and clearly that's where he stands, is because he knows that City are going to come big. Why would he do that otherwise? He would look like an idiot if he goes on strike and then no one makes an offer at all summer. And then on September the 1st, he said, well, I have to come back now because no one wanted me. So I think for Kane to go on strike and not turn up today is because he knows that City are going to come for him big.
Do you think that's the case too, Frank, that he knows that City are going to come in big for him and that ultimately that is where he will end up for him to have pulled a play like this?
Yeah, it would be a complete suicide, if he decided to go on strike without any insurance that City will go for him. So maybe he has that kind of phone calls and making sure that Manchester City is going to go for him and going to fight for him until he gets him, and he has to play the way he plays now is not showing up, not making appearances to make sure that Daniel Levy is in trouble. But I have a question for the guys, because it's funny, because we had a debate for the All Euros that Grealish couldn't play because Sterling was playing. So that won't be a debate if Grealish goes to Manchester City, so they can play both. Suddenly somebody find a solution to play those two fantastic players together. No, that's. I have a question for Southgate, but I can't talk to him, so I'd rather talk to the three guys that are expert as well.
So what have you got to say about that then, Shaka?
I'll give you Gareth Southgate's number. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure to answer that one, Frank. Listen, for me, it's a like for like between the two. Whether Guardiola can find space, push Sterling out on the right hand side, or whether Grealish is happy to sit in behind a front man, whoever that front man may be. Time will tell, but that's why Pep gets paid the big bucks.
Jules?
Well, Raheem Sterling obviously started the Champions League final, but before that, certainly in the big games, he was not really in the team. I think he lost his place a bit. And I'm not sure how much Pep Guardiola still trusts him, really. I know he had a great Euros with England, but his club form, certainly last season, was not the same at all. It was actually, one of his worst seasons since he joined City. So maybe that's why he's in Pep's mind. Grealish is an upgrade on what Sterling has been doing the last 18 months, for example. And certainly you could see what Grealish can bring to that City team in terms of, especially when you play against a low block, Grealish can take on players in those small spaces. He can make a difference. And I think maybe that's what Pep sees. And for me, if Grealish signs, is to take Sterling's place, not to play with them together.
Would you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, I do actually. And I think that, in any other summer when people had money, when other clubs had money, I think Sterling might have gone actually. I think his situation with his contract is an issue. He's got 2 years left in his contract. I think he wants money very close to what Kevin De Bruyne has been given. I think De Bruyne is the highest paid player in the Premier League now. I don't think City are prepared to pay it, and I think City probably would cash in on Raheem Sterling. So Sterling could be the guy that makes way for Jack Grealish, but I don't think he's going to make way for Jack Grealish by going to Tottenham, which would help everybody in this party apart from Raheem Sterling.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.